Hey, Dad, it's getting late. Let's do this.
Our tale of the tape for this, our main event of the evening. We introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Today I'm fortunate enough to have gotten Lucas to be my first guest on here. So we're going to try and dive into a little bit of Luke's life from pre-jiu-jitsu all the way until now. So Lucas, welcome.
Hello.
I guess first question, let's talk about life for you before you started jiu-jitsu. What kind of kid were you? What did you grow up doing? What did you like, and etc.?
Athletically, not a whole lot. I was playing a lot of video games. I was reading a lot of books. I played soccer, but not with a whole lot of enthusiasm. I wasn't much of an athlete as far as jiu-jitsu and things go now. Everything I've got now has been built. But no, a lot of art, a lot of reading, but nothing much more on the nerdier side of things. Yeah, as far as school goes.
Were you already doing art? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys had me I was in art classes when I was 7, maybe something like that, 6, 7, something like that.
I remember going to the zoo, and we would have to stop at every exhibit.
Yeah, I brought a sketchbook
with a sketchbook, so you could sit down and draw it out, and then we move on to the next one.
I still bring notebooks whenever I go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I bring sketchbooks everywhere.
So, what got you into beginning to start training and whatnot?
Or
why?
Why I guess would be to avoid bullying. Obviously, that was the main purpose. Because you'd try to get us into it before when we were younger, and we couldn't take it seriously. 'Cause I remember we were working out, just me and Tyler, but we were at the front gym of Providence, and there was a dance class waiting to start, and there was a bunch of kids that were in my class, but me and Tyler just kept tickling each other and couldn't take it seriously. I don't remember how old we were, but I remember being when we were in middle school, and you would actually open the gym. You'd wanted us to make sure we didn't get bullied or anything like that, and I wasn't into it at the time. I definitely was not into it. I forget if Tyler was or not, to be honest. He was pretty solid at everything. He probably didn't care.
He was always athletic. Here's the life of Chris Brennan. I have two kids, 2 boys that come home from school and tell their mom that they want to do karate. And I am a pride UFC, King of the Cage fighter, Hall of Fame MMA guy, and they come home and want to do karate. And I was like, no, to her. And she's like, you have to let them try it. You have to let them try it. That's what they want to do. And I'm just like, they have no idea, what?
I always forget that we did karate. I blocked that memory out.
Yeah, they really did karate for a couple months. Probably 2 months, got their black belt. No, I'm just kidding. But they did do it for two months, I think.
Paid for it.
Maybe 3 months. And I was like, okay, are we done? Is that it? And then, fortunately, they could end up like Stephen Thompson or something if they stuck with it for a while. But
maybe I'd actually be making bonuses if I'd stuck with karate.
That's right. But yeah, it was like, so jiu-jitsu is next, and it was actually years later before they got started doing jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, I don't remember how old we were doing karate, but I was 11 and a half when we started jiu-jitsu. It was December, so yeah, 11 and a half, almost 12. Yeah. But.
So let's talk about the beginning of your jiu-jitsu career and coming up in, we'll read deeper into that, like your jiu-jitsu in Texas, like coming up with the kids in Texas jiu-jitsu.
We started young. We started young, but not as young as everyone else did. I was almost 12. I think Tyler was probably 10 or something like that, 10 or 11. But everyone had been training already since they were 6. Everyone already had years and years behind them. But we were. It took me a little while to actually get wins racking up. I was winning tournaments, but I was running 500 a little bit and winning some more. But I was still on the low side of things before I started really picking up matches a lot and whatnot. The one thing that I almost psyched out at IHOP at WinStar when I said I hadn't won the first 5 of anything. Yeah. It's the same. It was jiu-jitsu. I lost my first match to our teammate.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Noah. Yeah. I spent 3 minutes going for a triangle that I didn't get, and I lost the takedown. And
lost. One. Yeah.
Yeah. Same tournament though.
Yep,
yeah.
Same tournament.
Yeah. My only losses were to teammates, and then I came back in and abused them.
The first
Travis Luters.
First tournament ever was a Naga. Tyler decided to do a Naga, and Lucas wasn't interested in doing it.
That too.
And we went, and Tyler, being Tyler, won the tournament, and it was his first time competing.
Like 30-0.
Yeah, it was rough. And on the way home, Lucas said, hey, when's the next tournament? And I was like, oh, it's whenever. Why? He goes, I'll do it. And then decided to give it a shot because, in my opinion, he probably realized him and Tyler were pretty even. He goes back and forth with Tyler, and Tyler just won the tournament handily, so you realize you could probably get in there and hang as well.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this will be fun.
Yeah.
It turned out to be fun. It took a little while. The first couple tournaments were rough.
Yeah, you're about a 500 first year? Or a little better?
A little better.
Yeah.
Like, I took second at that tournament. I took 2 seconds, but then I won Grappler's Quest, and then I think I took, like, second somewhere, and then, like, won in August. So it was, like, up in the air. It was a little bit of both. It wasn't until, like, the next couple years that it started, like, really picking up. And then that last big year that we competed a lot at Blue Belt. Yeah.
That
was a travel year. That was fun.
So before that, like, let's say your second, third year, you're competing against, by your second year, you're winning all the time. And so was Tyler. And
we'd won Kids Worlds already.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
Won Kids Worlds at a year and a half, both of you. And then back here in Texas, you're going against, savages, right? Like
good guys.
Roberto.
I mean guys that are now competing in like who's number one and like ranked like number 1 in the world now. A lot of good Texas kids are now, and even the ones that didn't continue to do it fight now and are also pretty solid. So like the talent was super high level, especially because we started late. Everyone was homeschooled. Nobody even went to school. They did morning classes, they did noon classes, they did night classes. I only know off the top of my head one other person in the state that actually went to school. Everyone else just did jiu-jitsu all day long. And we still had math class and all that.
Yeah, so I remember the year, I think it might have been the year we traveled, we went to California, and you and Tyler did a super fight, and you did a men's expert division. And
it was the following year. I was purple.
Okay, so everyone was telling me, I'll jump to that and then we'll go back. Everyone was telling me that the jiu-jitsu in California is much higher level than the jiu-jitsu in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And we kept hearing that, so I'm like, okay, we need to be prepared. I was like, but if we really want to get down to the nitty and gritty, the Southern California was my jiu-jitsu, right? I trained those guys, a bunch of the gym owners down there, so it wasn't like I lost my California jiu-jitsu when I came to Texas, so we were readily prepared. So we'll jump back to that tournament in a little bit. So as a blue belt, you got your blue belt 15 years old, and we're competing. Like actually let's step back. When was your first men's division?
Orange belt.
14?
Yes.
13?
I think I was 14.
14?
Yeah. New breed. Yeah. I did an intermediate men's division and won. Because Greg started calling me the Manslayer after that, and it's still my Xbox gamer tag. I forget how old the guys were. It was like one dude was like 30-something, and then one dude was like 20-something. But they kept asking if we were sure we wanted to do it.
Right.
And then they did that again later. But they were like, "Are you sure you want to do this division? Are you sure you want to do this division? Like, are you sure they want to do this division?" Like, bro, I was doing adult divisions consistently after that.
Yeah,
and then even for teen divisions, we were reverse sandbagging. Like, we'd only trained for like 2 years, but we were doing like 4 and up, 5 and up. Like, we were doing all the pro and advanced divisions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was the way most of the time we were able to get matches with the better kids like Tyler and Luke Garcia and Tyler and Jaden Tulance. You and Roberto, and you had other.
Me and Eric Tulance.
Eric Tulance. You had other really good kids that had been training for a long time, and you had not been training for that long of a time. But I'm sure a lot had to do with we only did no-gi. They were doing gi and no-gi, and we just kind of we raced and caught up to those guys, and end up passing a lot of them. And Roberto now will just he's a freak.
He can stay in what he's doing.
my highlight or my claim to fame for you with Roberto was you went 0-0 with Tainan at Worlds, and he lost 4-2. He should have won, but he lost 4-2.
Yeah, he did. I think
AOJ for the win.
Jiu-jitsu math that day, right? It works out.
But that was the year we traveled.
Blue, yeah. Europe. and then a handful of other states: Tennessee, Louisiana, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Louisiana, Arizona. We went to London, and Lucas won the British Nationals in London.
And the absolute.
Two different, absolute and his weight class. And his finish it was regular weight class, right? It was in weight class. His finish was so legit that all the Brazilians around us were cheering and cheering for Lucas and like pumped on the win. It was really cool.
I guess it must have been cool then if they're actually cheering for him.
Yeah, for sure. After it was after London, we came back and traveled, right? Went to Tennessee,
I believe
Mississippi,
so.
And
I remember that summer.
Yeah, I remember you were on the mat competing in the teen division, and then they're yelling Lucas Brennan to another mat.
Tennessee.
And you ran over to the other mat and got on the mat, and there was a guy that was, and Lucas is 15.
I'm probably 140.
140, and this guy was probably
50?
a good 6'2", 170, 180, purple belt. And
not small,
standing on the mat
big
waiting for Lucas. And I looked at the guy sitting at the table. I go, is this the wrong division? And he said, and this is awesome. He goes, no, that's the only guy that would go against him. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. So Lucas went out there and he looked at me and goes, okay. And he went out there and triangled the guy.
Yeah, I was up on some points and then triangled him at the bell.
Beat him by triangle.
The kids we beat that day are now Keanu Reeves judo coaches.
Right. Yeah.
That's the most frustrating thing
coaching him in,
I've ever seen.
They had little cameos in John Wick, right?
Yeah.
Part 2,
I think? Three. They were teaching him all his judo to do in his suit, and then in the third movie, he's going into like some like facility, but he's walking past wrestling mats, and there's kids doing throws, and then they both stand up like all buff and whatever. And me and Tyler were like, "Dude, we choked both of them. like they're not hard and cool. Like I know them. Like it was the weirdest thing. I was like, we should be teaching John Wick jiu-jitsu. I was like, this is what a shortcoming. like what a highlight that would have been. Like
for sure. How'd you steal that spot? Okay, so. After that, we went to, I guess, was in Tennessee.
Yes.
So we had the Mississippi tournament. You win the men's division there. You had 2 MMA guys actually.
Yeah, brown belt.
That was AGF, I believe, because Brandon Quick was talking to me that day. He's like, this guy's an MMA fighter, and this guy's an MMA fighter with however many fights he has, a brown belt.
Yeah, I don't think I tapped either of them, but I beat both by like 10, 12, something like I was just racking up points on them. And then I had a teen division that day and beat everyone. Tyler hit the slickest no-gi deli heave back take I've ever seen
very
on
cool.
a giant.
And that was something that he had not drilled or trained, but just looked over and went leg, hip, sit in my lap.
He's like, I saw someone do this once. Yeah, that'll work. It's kind of how he learns everything, I think.
We'll get to him.
Yeah.
So after that, I believe you were actually still blue, and we did Naga. And at Naga, and I believe that was in December, when you got your
Naga Worlds.
Yes, you competed against Guilherme.
Yeah,
blue belt. He was a black belt, 7-time national champ from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
You were still blue, and all the Brazilians were not cheering for you during that
No,
match.
Brazilians that were not from his team were still not cheering for me.
Right.
They were very adamant about him.
And you beat him, and then got your purple belt that day.
Yeah. He wasn't happy about it.
No,
I love that picture.
I have a great picture of this guy broken after the match, just like someone shot his puppy. So
Speaking
from
of
then
John
we
Wick.
started competing at purple, right? Went to California for that. Competed. I don't know what else you did here at purple.
At blue, I'd also done bad as blue. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, purple, I don't remember doing a whole lot. I was coming off hurting my knee at state and then immediately hurting my foot at state or after state. I wish that was at state. That was on a trampoline. And then, yeah, we did that tournament. And I fought that August 12th because I had school after that. Yeah.
So went to California, competed in Russ's tournament.
Yeah.
And you did the expert division there, and Tyler had a super fight with a kid.
Josh Barnett did not like me.
Yeah.
That was fun.
He had a men's division, and Josh Barnett had a student that Lucas was beating, and Josh starts screaming at his student, "Stop letting him do that. He's a kid. He's a kid. And then he goes, put him on his head. And I said, hey, Lucas, Josh Barnett just told him to put you on your head, so be careful. And then
Yeah, that was fun. I surfed a kid.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And that was when we realized that it didn't matter which end of the state or the country we went to, our jiu-jitsu held up.
Yeah.
Even going back to Blue Belt Worlds, we went to San Francisco for Blue Belt Worlds, and you had a 0-0 match with Tynon, who's now an 8 or 14.
He was 8 then.
Yeah,
I don't even know what he is now.
Multi-time jiu-jitsu world champion. Had a 0-0 match with him that was, very competitive, and from that point on, during all this, high school wrestling started.
Yeah.
So while you're doing jiu-jitsu, you start wrestling as a freshman, and
14.
Yeah, 14, and you're switching time between wrestling and jiu-jitsu every day. Had a super successful high school wrestling career. By the time you were a junior, majority of the people in Texas, knew that they didn't want to wrestle the jiu-jitsu kid from Frisco.
Yeah. They didn't want to wrestle the Brennans. Yeah.
Had that a lot walking into weigh-ins and stuff where kids would say something to their parents like, hey, there's the Brennans.
Yeah. That happened a lot.
Or the parents would be like, boys, they're the Brennan brothers.
Yeah.
And I overheard that walking into a thing one time, and I was like, man, that is cool, and at the same time, fortunate that you guys weren't punk kids, so it was like,
they weren't like, it's
right.
them. Yeah.
So from wrestling, traveled a little bit for wrestling, did preseason nationals, went to state a few times, and then I think it was junior or senior year, after preseason nationals, the phone started ringing. Started getting offers for wrestling, scholarships for wrestling, wrestling at D1, D2, D3 schools, and we were in the fortunate position where it was time to sit down with you and be like, okay, do you want to wrestle in college? Do you want to do jiu-jitsu at a high level and get paid for that, or do you want to fight? And the kid who had never been in a fight or an argument or anything really said, I want to fight. Let's try that. And if you remember, I said, let's do it now, because you may do it and win and hate it, or you may do it and lose and want to do it the next day. It's just you never know that in that sport until you do it. So I guess you were how old? And we did
when we did the first one,
17.
Yeah, 17. Yeah, I mean, legally I had to be 17, but I think we signed the contract on my birthday because we already had it. We just couldn't sign it while I was 16. Yeah, you signed it. Mom cried on it, but she signed it. Yeah. Got it notarized and all that, and fought to do those 27. Yeah. I was about to be a senior. I fought
it was like a week before school started?
Yeah. It was a week before school started. The next one was a week before school ended. Yeah, both were. I was a senior in high school, about to be.
Rear naked choked first guy?
Yeah, third round. Had a nice shiner. First punch that ever landed on me. My whole eye like swelled up for a long time. That was not fun. But
if I could explain to people how chill you are during a fight, the conversation that we have when you're on the stool in between rounds goes pretty much like it's going right now.
Yeah.
We're sitting having a conversation like it's just another day in the park, and you were like that after your first and second round of your very first fight.
Because that was in the third round.
I came back. You came back after the first round, and you kind of went like that. And you go, I don't remember it landed, I don't remember getting punched, but I can see it out of the corner of my eye. And you just started having a conversation with me. Then the second round, you came back and you said, man, that starburst in the mouthpiece thing's awesome. And you're smiling, talking to me. And I'm just like, man, for a kid that's never done this before, to feel like that, to be as calm as you were and composed, the only person I could think of in my entire career that was ever like that was Jeremy Horn, and he had 110 or 15 fights.
That's too many.
so it's a very different, person. He's another really intelligent guy, so it was, it just kind of resonated with me that you look at this a little bit different. You do a little bit different. And you did it again right before your senior year, or your senior year ended, right before graduation. And then how long was it after that before your last one?
It was a while.
5 months or more than that?
It was almost a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'd fought. That was Legacy May 25th because I graduated and had my birthday the following weekend and turned 18. I didn't fight again until June 7th of the following year.
Okay.
I hurt my back.
Oh, wrestling.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, wrestling hurt my back. I was out for 5 months ish.
Yeah.
Give or take. Yeah, I couldn't do anything. Yeah, I fought that in June because then I immediately fought again the next month.
So, real quick, we'll go back. Before you even had your first amateur fight, when you and Tyler were little, we flew out to California, and you guys twice and fought in 2 pancration events.
Yeah. I always forget how old we were. Like, I
Yeah.
don't remember if we were
12 and 13 or 13 and 14.
maybe 13 and 14.
Yeah, 13, 14. And this was a closed fist to the body. No head strikes, but they could kick, punch, and knee, everything below the neck. And then there's submissions. And I believe you triangled both guys.
Yeah.
And I think Tyler Kimura'd one guy real nice off a roll-off Kimura, and I forget what he did in this first one.
The first one I think went. I think it went the whole time, but he was like all over the kid.
Yeah,
just
it's
like
3 2s
with all the
right?
gear he couldn't. Yeah. The rounds were super short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had triangled the first kid. We both leg kicked each other, and he kicked my leg that I was standing on, and I fell. He jumped my guard, I triangled him, and then the other kid was the second round, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a triangle from the mount, rolled over, put my foot under, and I destroyed his back. He was tapping me so hard I thought he was punching me. I just went harder, and then I was like, sorry, bro.
So looking at that, you were 2-0 in pancration. You were 3-0 as an amateur, and I'm just going to jump ahead with your record for a second. You're 6-0 as a professional, and that's all in MMA. So that's what 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights, undefeated. What do you think the difference is? Because you've had losses in wrestling, you've had losses in jiu-jitsu, but what do you think the difference is combining it all that has worked so well for you?
I mean, I don't know. No, I mean, it's just like blending it together's worked, and my wrestling's worked a little bit more, getting to hit someone in the middle of it, and same for my jiu-jitsu. Like, getting submissions is a little bit easier if you can hit them a couple times and, make them a little more easy to work with. But no, I haven't had anything like particular in mind that like really made the difference. But a lot of like the losses from jiu-jitsu and for wrestling for like younger, like we were developing still as people, and still like wrestling was another thing. Like I was 14, Tyler was 13 for a little bit of it, and 14 going against guys that were like 18 and 19.
Right. And also guys have been wrestling since they're 5, 6, 7,
yeah,
9 years old.
yeah.
They were started as a freshman.
Yeah, they were guys that were getting like their 100th win when they were in like 8th grade. Like there were dudes that had been wrestling like their whole lives. Same for jiu-jitsu though. Like before they started actually splitting up the teen division. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 or 13 to 16.
Yeah.
And then they were like 17-year-olds that didn't have anyone. They're like, oh, you can go in there too.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, 13-year-olds at 8th grade or 17. I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
If I was a senior in high school going against an 8th grader, I'd turn him in half. Like, just break them. Like, it's not even the same thing. And it's not even the same type of build of person. Like, so some of it's probably just like where we were developed as a person, like physically. And then fighting on about as developed as I'm going to get, 21, almost 22. So,
You'll
yeah. I mean, there's some filling out that I'm sure will happen, but like if we're really talking about like actual size and height and whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you were definitely always undersized, even in high school wrestling.
I've never figured that out.
Guys that are taller and bigger and be on the scale the same
and
as
we were cutting weight.
Preseason nationals. Preseason nationals, we stood on the side of the mat watching a match go on that we all thought was a 160-pound weight class.
With two meatheads.
Big guys, and they walked off the mat, and I said, hey, what weight was that? And they said 138.
Yeah.
And I was like,
they were taller than me. They were warming up next to me later. I was like, dude.
And they're in the same weight class. I'm like, how did you guys get on must have the heaviest bones in the world.
Yeah, I was like, I felt like I put on a lot of weight after the weigh-in because it was the day before weigh-ins. We had IHOP and Olive Garden.
Yeah.
We had gone to Olive Garden for dinner. They had a 2-hour wait. We went to IHOP, ate. By the time we were done eating, we went back to Olive Garden and ate. I still felt good, but just like, but yeah, like we were losing a lot of weight. I was wrestling 38. I'd already been like 170 before. Like I was like coming down every week from 60 something. Like
I mean, Tyler's junior year, he was walking at 126, wrestling 106, and still wasn't the biggest guy on the mat.
No,
You know, it's like,
no.
how was that possible?
Yeah, he was frail.
Yeah.
It was like it just didn't make any sense physically. It is what it is now. But
So, after your last amateur fight, it was very quick, right? After your last amateur fight, it was 5 weeks. I think it was only a couple days.
we
before-
fought June 7th was the amateur fight. July 12th was the next one. So yeah, about 5 weeks. Yeah.
I remember it was only a couple days before Bellator was in contact with us, and we ended up signing, actually signing for the fight, but not an actual contract with Bellator. And
Wanted to make sure I could be an adult.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So he signed a one fight contract with Bellator on kind of a trial run. They wanted to see at 19 years old, just turned 19 years old, what if you're a professional, if you make weight, if you show up on time, if you do all these things, and showed up and did that, and got a first round rear naked choke, sold a bunch of tickets because it was local.
Yeah.
And,
Sold a ton of tickets. They had me on the dark card, so it actually stayed pretty full. Yeah.
And then I remember they messaged me after, and they had taken professional pictures. They'd done your professional photography pictures with Lucas Noonan, and there was some really good pictures of you, and you're fortunately not ugly. And they sent me a message and said, hey, okay, so we definitely want to sign him. Where do you want to start? And I sent him like 5 of those pictures back, and I said, well, let's start here. I said, clearly he's marketable. Let's go from there. And Rich is like, yeah, haha, I get it. I know, and then, we were able to sign a 5-fight deal, and then fought 4 of those fights, and then went to we wanted to sign your following contract before that fight took place, and then signed a 6-fight deal that took that 5th one off. And
Yeah,
started from
the
there.
5th was the first of the next one. There was a little overlap.
And that's where you're at now?
Yeah, because I fought the 1, 4 of 5, so 5, and then the first of the 6, so yeah.
So how have your fights gone?
I mean, good. I got punched more as an amateur than I do now. Like I've posted it a handful of times, but I've been punched 4 times in the last 6 fights. The first 2 guys didn't even touch me, and the next 4 guys all touched me once. So not bad on stats. I'm 100% on takedowns, and yeah, no one's touching me. The only time I've hurt myself is to myself. Like I've hurt my hands hitting people, and I've hurt my legs kicking people, but I haven't had a bruise or a headache or anything. Yeah.
Wood on that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean they've been perfect, and they've all been different. So solid, like covering ground.
So I'm going to ask, why do you think that is? And then at the same time, I'm going to bring up something that you do in your camps that kind of sets you apart from a lot of people. I think that like blew my mind the day I saw it. But what do you think, first of all, is your reason for not getting hit? How are you fighting not getting hit? How are you fighting and winning? And it's simple, if you ask me, but a lot of people, don't fight that way and do get hit a lot.
I think I'm just fighting smart. Like I'm just like I respect my brain health. Like I think you're capable of winning fights and doing well without standing in the middle and banging, and there's no need to. Like some people, that's their whole style, but if they just learned like how to wrestle, they wouldn't need to do that. They'd actually have their memory by the time they're 30 and not have problems. Like tons like older guys have problems now, but there's a lot of younger guys that have issues now. Like I know Tony already does. He's gotten in trouble like a couple times. Like showed up at his house and was like, "Where am I?" Like had no idea where he was, and like he's not old. He's not an old dude at all. And then he fought Gaethje and looked older. Yeah. Like he looked physically older, and it was like 3 months later. Like he did look good, and like that style of fighting isn't good for you, like health wise. Like even if I'm not fighting till an old age, I would like to not look old, young, or like
Sure.
anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah. I'd have longevity and health.
I was fortunate to also take fairly little damage as a professional. 36 fights. I had 4 concussions, but 3 of them took place in training, and well, actually 2 in training, 2 in fights, but they were not concussions like knocked out. They were like, I had a memory lapse of 20 seconds in one point, 30 minutes in one point, but I won the fight, on the long one. and it was just I don't remember from this point to this point.
Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii.
Yeah,
Martin
yeah.
Moreno. I got hit with a short uppercut on my takedown, and I remember finishing the armbar, and then I remember calling Jen to tell her that I won the fight, and she said, "You called me 20 minutes ago and told me that." And I was like, "Oh, really? Are you sure?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "No, I just won." She goes, "No, you called me 20 minutes ago." Find out later, after my fight, I cornered Jeff Munson, and he won. And then I called her a second time. But I walked him into a Kimura, and he won it, and was thanking me for it. And I don't remember any of it, and it was, I'd never had a headache. I never had any symptoms after that. I never had anything. But I did have, a memory thing. And then it happened once in Marco's garage. I just told that story with my friend. And then it happened, John Alessio.
Yeah.
John Alessio hit me once when I covered, and then the referee stopped the fight, and I put my hands down, and I'm like, "Hey," I was like, "What are you doing?" And then he's looking at me. He's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Why are you stopping?" I said, "Are you finding him? Are you finding him?" And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "No, shh." And he was trying to help me. He goes, "Watch the jumbotron." And after he hits me with the one, he hit me with 22 other punches, looking at the ref like, "Are you going to stop it?" And I was just covering like this, and then as soon as I stopped it, I put my hands down, and I was like,
You're like,
"What's
"I'm
up?"
good, dude.
And I was totally fine. But there was like a 15, 20-second period where, that went away. But other than that, having as many fights I had, I didn't take a lot of damage because my jiu-jitsu was good. I had a really solid bottom game if I was on bottom, and then I was on top a lot the second half of my career once I learned how to wrestle because of Pat Miletich.
Yeah.
So going to that, you're fighting intelligently. You know what your game plan is. They know what your game plan is, but there is a point in time where if they want to hit you, they've got to be able to touch you. And if they can touch you,
they have to be able to step into my game plan,
right?
And hope that I can't do it. But
right. Yeah, so it's hard to throw punches and defend the takedown at the same time. And I think that's what you're finding. What's that?
Ask Edson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Bryce is a perfect example of a guy that wanted to knock him out, and he's a guy that wanted to take him down. And it's so much harder to play that guy when the other guy, especially like he sat him down early in the fight, right? Because he was worried about his takedown, and then bang, landed that.
Khabib and Conor.
Yeah. Now he's worried about his striking and his takedowns.
Yeah.
So he's hesitant on his striking.
Yeah, he's discouraged him from striking because he's now sat him down.
Yeah,
with
Conor and Khabib is a perfect example. In a million years, Khabib couldn't box Conor.
No.
You know what I mean? And beat him in a boxing match. But because Conor was so worried about the takedown, Khabib put him on his butt. And the same thing happened with Bryce and him. Okay, so in all that, I one day walked into Lucas's bedroom. I was putting laundry away or something, I don't know, and I looked up, and he has a giant whiteboard, and I mean big,
it's 4 or 5 feet.
4 or 5 feet wide, 3.5 feet tall, and it is every inch of this thing is covered in small writing. And at first I looked at it, and I think I'm looking at like Goodwill Hunting's algorithms on the mirror, and I'm like, what? And I started reading, and it literally took me 20, almost 30 minutes to read everything on this whiteboard. And without going into detail, but go into detail. What was on that? What is on that? Every time you have a fight camp, you break this down.
I have it sectioned off per thing. So some of it's following my weight, just weekly, not daily. I keep that in my phone. But I have weekly where my weight started, where my weight ended, how heavy did I get after the cheat that weekend, where am I on Sunday, where am I on Monday, am I following where I need to be on weight in a particular time. Right. And then I have next to it what the previous camp was, just to make sure I'm within some sort of range. And then I end up doing a lot of math. If I started lighter than I did on the previous one, then I'm doing percentages of stuff and whatever. I have a section set apart for the whoop band, for the strain. The strain weekly is getting higher when the intensity of our training is getting higher. My max heart rate per week, all my heart rates, all my respiratory rates while I sleep, but my sleep percentages, if my sleep's getting better or worse while the camp goes on. I have my schedule for the week is on there, but then I also have what is going to be added to it later, like later in the camp when I want to lose more weight or I need to work out more, or when I'm going to add in our AM PM cardio at night, or yeah, you know what I mean. But add in the cardio. I have that like when in the camp is that supposed to come in. If my weight's okay, do it then instead of now, whatever. I have. Some of it is just like reminder things, just kind of like things you would keep in your notes. But it's easier to have, instead of having 15 sets of notes in my phone, to have it all on like relatively paper, but just like in front of me. It's easier to just kind of look at all of it instead of like scrolling through stuff, go back, where is it? When the last time I opened this note? Where is it? And like go through all of it like that. So it's easier to just like put it all out into writing, and be able to see it all the time, and then continually be able to look back at it. So I'll track the per days, and then a different section will have like that week in general. What did everything average? Did the strain of my workout stay about the same or higher or worse, whatever? Did my heart rate stay okay? Did it like go through the ceiling? And then same thing, like if I was sick or anything like that. My diet too. My diet stays through there.
You have your calories and everything on there?
I have every macro. So every calorie, the fat, what kind of fat, the sugars, the carbs, most everything's on there.
Of what you have in a day, or of what you have, of what each thing is that you eat?
It used to be of each thing that I ate, but that took up too much space, so I would do the math of all of it first. I would then do the math of all of it per what ends up coming out, because the numbers will eventually drop. So I would have how many calories is it a day for week 1. On week 2, we take out this snack and this snack. What does that math end up being week 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way down? And so it took up too much space to do all the food I was eating and the macros with it. So now I just had the macros per week. And then I just did the math for the food on like paper or my phone or something like that, and would edit it in.
The top right of the whiteboard kind of had your weight at start, and then kind of all the way
I have
to fight day.
Not necessarily like a chart, but like just like a point A to point B of week 1, week 12, 6, and kind of like when X snack comes out at week 2, is my weight dropping? And then when this snack comes out, then does my weight drop? And if my weight doesn't really drop, then I'll take out more. If it drops a lot, then I probably won't take out the next thing, and I'll push it back a week. But I'll kind of like gauge it. And so now I have it where that's that 1 to 12. I know what my weight should be per week, so I know when stuff needs to come out. I know what it weighs. Like I know exactly what everything weighs to the gram, and that like our zone bar is like 42 grams or something like that. So you can just like do the math. It's like you multiply it by 0.00220.462, and make it pounds and things like that. Ounces or 0.0625, things like that. So just like, because no food is sold in pounds.
Right.
Everything's sold in grams and ounces, which is weird because we don't use that system for anything other than food. All the other countries do, but like everything's in pounds. So I don't know. There's just like a lot of math involved to stay on top of it, but like it's relatively easy once you get like the hang of it. Because I was not good at math. I was horrendous at math. I was only good at like English, so which also was weird. But
do you have any of your training on there, like any of your sparring sessions or any of that type of stuff on that, or not at all? Like
not like separate from any other days. Like whatever the sparring day is probably just in there along with all the other days. I know what day it is, just because I know what day of the week that is. But other than that, I don't have it like set aside for anything. No.
I remember one thing that was kind of down in the middle bottom area. You had a list of fighters, or a list of some
grapplers that fight. Or just grapplers in general. Yeah, there was like a handful. It was like GSP and Khabib, Frankie. There was a couple, Maya, a couple other guys, I think. I forget.
What were those?
Like videos to watch and things, like other guys that fight with like a similar style of sorts. Like jiu-jitsu guys, but not exclusively jiu-jitsu guys, like not Ryan Hall, like not that sort of style, or Tonin or anything like that. More like guys that use wrestling a little more, instead of like spamming 45 Minori rolls, a little more wrestling based jiu-jitsu, even though my jiu-jitsu isn't wrestling based, but
Do you not think it is?
I mean, it wasn't. I did jiu-jitsu first.
I didn't wrestle, but everyone thinks my jiu-jitsu is very wrestling based just because of the top game.
Yeah, I mean, I had jiu-jitsu first.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I use wrestling in my jiu-jitsu, but I like being on bottom. So like I don't know, like I'm all over the place. Like I like not for fighting, but I like some of the sport jiu-jitsu-ish stuff.
Right.
But if I'm on top, I'm probably using a lot of wrestling to stay on top and like keep my base together and whatnot. So
I remember that was a big thing we had to change from high school wrestling to switch into MMA, because how many shots did you take in high school?
not a lot. My senior year, I took like maybe 3 shots. Like I couldn't, very few.
Yeah. You and Tyler were wizards at letting them on your legs, sit in the corner and getting behind cradles.
Yeah,
and
it was snap downs, and yeah, if they got on our legs, they weren't scoring. We upset some coaches. Yeah, I remember, I won't like whatever, but there was a kid that I'd wrestled at districts in the semis my senior year, and their coaches were yelling at him not to tie up with me because I was gonna snap him down and go behind, and like, do not touch him, like do not grab his neck, do not grab his arm, do not tie up with him. And they're saying it like mid match, and he just both hands boom and just tied up with me, and both coaches stood up and walked off. Like they didn't even coach him the rest of the match. I spladled him. I snapped him down and spladled him and pinned him. But they immediately were like, dude, like they just walked off. Like all the coaches knew what was up, and I probably should have like hid that a little better and did more things, but it worked. So you know.
Yeah, so it was like, as you were deciding to do MMA, I was like, okay, but for a long time, people are not going to shoot on you.
Yeah.
No one's going to want to go to the ground with you, so
And
we got to start shooting.
Not necessarily, not Tyler, but like I was heavily discouraged from shooting after like my partners for a long time. Like my training partners were guys I was not going to score takedowns on, or if I did, I was scoring like a takedown every 2 or 3 months. Like I was not scoring a lot.
Was Jordan Robeson, who held the pin record in Texas.
Yeah, he's a 3-time state finalist and a state champ, and it was AJ Ferrari, who's now. Yeah, he was a true freshman national champ at D1 and also state champ in high school. And even after that, it was other guys who were all like ranked number 1 or number 2 in the state. Guys that wrestled here. Blaine for a while. Yeah, he was a 6A state champ. And crazy athletic. And then it was like the Maistises, who were both were ranked number 1 in the state. John Green was a state finalist and state placer a couple times. Like all really good guys, but I wasn't scoring takedowns on really high level guys.
Shots.
Yeah. Not like my shots weren't scoring anything. I'd get a takedown a month on AJ, and like I'd get like 1, and he'd get the next however many. But if I got 1, we had to go for longer. Like if I got a takedown in the last live go, everyone's up and jogging, we're gonna do conditioning now, and he's like, no. He's like, me and Lucas are doing another go. I was like, dude, it's like 40-2. Like, let me have this takedown. It's fine.
Because he knows what's gonna happen after he leaves.
yeah. Or while he's here. Yeah. It's just like, we got discouraged from shooting because shots weren't working, but my takedown defense got good because I was getting taken down all the time. So it was like, it worked out, but yeah.
Yeah,
it was a change of pace.
You definitely got dangerous off of your shots, or off of their shots.
And
it kind of played really well into your jiu-jitsu as well, because you have that initial stop of the shot from wrestling and then right into the getting on the neck, and your opponent two fights ago, Matt Skibicki, you threw a body kick and he caught it and shot. And I was like, woo. And as soon as he shot, I was like that. And you started to get up to grab something, and he had an opportunity to get away, and he reshot, and I just sat back in my chair
he
like
dove
this,
back
and
in. I was like,
Raphael, and I was like, here we go. And
he dove back in. I was like, all right, bro, like,
it was a nice
let's get it.
anaconda finish, I think, off of that.
Yes,
That's
or
really
if you ask Morrow, it's a Darce.
they all thought it was a Darce that night. And then your last fight, you that's the only guy that shot on you, right? The Matt Skibicki? Very briefly in like my second amateur fight, the guy tried to take a shot in the third. And I took his back. Otherwise, no one's shot on me. Your last opponent, Josh Thompson and others were saying, man, this is a really big step up for him. Is he ready? And I said, yeah, we know he's tough, man. He goes, this guy's really tough, and he kept saying it over and over and over again. And I went to walk away, and we made eye contact again. And he said, and we're just about to leave to the fights, right? I'm already, I'm dad nervous. And he says, hey, he goes, don't underestimate him. I said, we didn't, bro. He's ready. And he
What
goes,
vibe did we get off?
yeah,
that, like,
I know.
that we
Like,
underestimated
do you think we're
him.
not
Like,
prepared ever?
haven't said a word
You
about
know?
him.
And,
Like,
and he said it again, and I said, and he goes, it's going to be his toughest fight yet. And I looked at him and I said, well, what if it's not?
yeah.
You know, I said, what if it's not his toughest fight yet? And he goes, well, then he's legit. You know, and I say, well, okay. I know you're legit. You know, I know how it goes. But he was like, we're just about to leave. And I'm like, bro, why didn't you do this like 2 days ago? Why are you doing it right now?
Yeah.
And
Trying to psych us out like the night of. He was like, hey, man, are you ready?
so you went out there and you got into a nice scramble. He landed a punch, you landed a punch. You land a body kick or partial kick, and the next time he tried
Leg
to
kick.
throw a punch, you were on him.
Yeah, I had slipped out as he threw, and we were like chest to chest. And I was like, well, like this isn't the shot I was looking for, but
here we
we're
are.
in. Yeah. I was immediately on a body lock.
Your takedown in that fight, I was directly behind him, so I only could see part of it. It's unfortunate that Bellator didn't go back and break it down, because I had guys like Pat Downey comment that he literally sat back in his chair and goes, nice.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's a really high level wrestler.
Yeah, high level wrestler.
And I talked to other high level wrestlers, and so you had gotten into a scramble position and came up in a weird spot and then set up a Merkle.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
most people don't even know what a Merkle
Yeah,
is.
most of them, like I think John McCarthy was like a side headlock looking thing. I was like, no, headlocks don't work. It's not a headlock.
Yeah.
It's
The
different.
arm was over here, you know.
I had the arm in front. My leg was hooked on the inside.
And I
that
saw
Merkle.
the leg hooked. I couldn't see the Merkle because your backs were to me. And I was saying, hey, I thought you were just behind him. And I was like, hey, go ahead and take that hook out and just get behind him. And then I realized as you were turning that it was a Merkle, and you went from a Merkle to an inside trip, really, really nice. And then just to make sure that you didn't end up in closed guard off the inside trip, you double-legged his legs and started
his
passing
legs
on the takedown.
came together
And that's when once again, I sat back and I looked at Rafael and I said, wow. You know, I was like, this kid impresses me more and more. And that's, again, something like, do you think it was the years of jiu-jitsu leading up to this, and all the matches and all the jiu-jitsu and wrestling matches that caused you to be so comfortable to, you really hit all the things in your fights that you do in training? You know, a lot of times that doesn't happen. A lot of times it doesn't translate. You take a chance, take chances here and there to make something happen. And a lot of times people think the wrestling and jiu-jitsu part of the fight is boring, but no one's ever bored once you hit the ground, you know?
Yeah, like I'm not doing any like aspirin, like lay and pray. Like I don't want to sit in your guard and do nothing the entire time. Or who was it that just fought the last Bellator card we watched? He got, was it
Johnny Eblin.
Yeah, he was getting takedowns, but he
The
couldn't.
guy
He
that thinks
couldn't.
he's gonna beat Musasi.
Yeah, but yeah, he was getting takedowns and then not doing a thing with it. Like he wasn't doing a single thing with his takedown. He was just kind of sitting there, just kind of like hitting them a little bit, but like no power, like nothing was happening. And like if you're not gonna do something with the takedown, then why are you getting the takedown? Like it's very a weird thing that people do. And
Trying to win the round, but
yeah, but like it's
I get it.
you're making a fight last 15 minutes when if you would just pass and tap them the last 2.5 minute, like you don't need to do all that. You're putting out more energy than you need to. Like,
Even your one decision win in Bellator,
yeah,
I believe you scored 2 10-8 rounds out of your 3 rounds, and it was just like a jiu-jitsu wrestling striking clinic on the ground.
2 10-27s or 30-27s and a 30-28. Yeah. All 3 gave me 1 10-8, and then I think 2 gave me 2 10-8s.
No, it was a 30-26 and a 30-25. You had 2 10-8s in there.
Where am I? Oh, my math is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. And when they announced that, I was like, okay, that was, they appreciated what was going on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was literally striking until the last second of the fight. The bell rang as you kicked him in the face.
I mean, I was beating him on the feet too because he was scared to do anything, which was weird. He was told he was doing what they wanted him to do. He could hear his corner the whole time,
Walked
so
you
there was no
down,
crowd.
pressured
But like,
you,
yeah,
but then didn't throw.
pressure him to the cage. And they're like, all right, you got him where you want him. And then he just didn't do anything with it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to then, if you're not going to. And I haven't a couple times. And the one time he did try to throw, I slipped all three. He threw a three punch combo was the most he threw on the feet the whole time, and I slipped all three and got out. Like he was just super
Pat
like,
yourself on the back for that. Like,
yeah. I was like, dude, I'm not even good at that sort of thing. Like, you're screwed. Like, this is not like. But yeah, like I was 3 for 3 on takedowns, and outstruck him 210-1. And the first round was a little slower because I went for the reverse triangle. But the next 2 rounds were they added up.
You're like, I'm not going to submit this guy.
Yeah, they thought, I don't know what they were checking for still. They just thought he was out of it or that his nose was broken or something like that, because his nose did look gross.
Between
the second and the third. Yeah, because the break ended and we both walked out, and then the doctor came in and like he was like, we're going to give it a second. I was like, all right. Like, I was like, are we done? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, I guess he was in the corner and they were talking to him, and he was just like not like he was just looking through them, like wasn't even listening. And they're like, hey, can you look at him? He's not okay. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like, zombie him out for the third.
So then your last fight was the assassin.
Yeah.
After that Merkel inside trip, takedown, pass, finish the assassin. They didn't. Once again, you're finishing something that they don't know what to call it. You know, that's happened.
That's hilarious.
That's happened there. That happened because of the
all 3 guys will like call something different.
Yeah.
And then they end up like creating a name for something.
Your short choke in your second fight became a soup choke.
Yeah, well, I did the
7-year-old choke?
the Jeff Glover 7-year-old choke without like the legs over the top, but I had the same grip, and I just had a gable grip in the center and just like squeezed and pulled. And they were like, yeah, like short choke, forearm choke, bar arm choke. I think they still call it a bar arm choke. Yeah. Like they were like, yeah, he has 2. They're like, yeah, he has 2 of the first submissions ever in Bellator, a bar arm choke and the assassin choke. I was like, assassin, yes. The other one's okay. Like, I'll take it. 'Cause if you're gonna keep saying it like that, then it sounds cool. But it wasn't like it wasn't anything special, bro. Like, it was.
I talked to Chandler Rogers right after that, and he was so stoked that you gave him a shout out, and I was so beside myself. As you were getting interviewed, I was trying to get your attention so I could tell you to mention him, but I couldn't even think of his name.
Yeah,
I was like, ugh.
Well, as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, it'd be terrible if I was like, yeah, this guy, and then just like just crash. And I was like, I hope I remember his name when I try to do this.
Chandler
right
Rogers, wrestler of Oklahoma State. He's assistant coach at Little Rock now, but he was known through college of hitting the assassin and whipping guys to their backs and pinning them with it.
Dirty.
And Luke has just like adapted it and changed it into a really, really nice choke from multiple positions.
Yeah, a number of them. Because I'd almost done it in the Skibicki fight, but he ended up tapping to the anaconda. So I was like, all right, cool. And then this guy was just there. Like he came right up for it, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, my hands came together, and it was easy, like, to finish.
So I'm gonna jump back real quick. I had a question I want to ask you. Tell me about your relationship with your brother. Tell me. You know, you guys have been training partners since the beginning. You know, you were the bigger, the stronger. You know, you guys were even all the time, but you created like a little monster under you because of that.
Yeah.
And then he grew up.
I created a problem for later.
Yeah. But like, you know, tell me about your relationship with him. You guys, how you get along, whatever, or tell people.
I mean, we didn't get along for a long time, being training partners. Like, we just like beefed it out for a while, just because like if you're each other's number one training partner and you don't get to not see that person again until the next workout, I think it's one thing. Yeah, you have to then go home with them and like, I want the Xbox. Well, I tapped you today, so I get the Xbox. Like, you just like, it's, you get into like things like that, and it just becomes like competition all the time. So I think like when we were younger, we probably weren't quite as close as we are now. Like, I think we're really cool and have been for the last handful of years. But like when we were younger, yeah, I just think we got into it a lot training because we were each other's training partners. So like naturally, just like the energy's high. Fought the one time. But like, yeah, I mean, like our relationship's good, and all we did for forever is this. So like we've always been like on like that common ground of things with training and things like that. And as we've gotten older, I think we've definitely gotten closer, and like as he's matured a little bit too. Like I think he didn't have a whole lot of life on him when he was here.
Sure.
And so we sent him to a school where he doesn't know anyone, in a place where he doesn't know anything, and he has to meet people and has to do things and like actually like be a little more outgoing. And he came back and I was like, look, you're like a real like adult, like this is awesome. Like it's like actually like got like closer like that. I think he doesn't like hearing that. I told him that and he was like, what? And I was like, never mind. But like you get like
it was definitely hard. It was always the three of us everywhere, like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and then I was telling the story to PJ that I dropped him off at school and I drove away and I had to pull over and literally cried for 15 minutes. And then I was texting you, then I was texting him. And then, you know, and it's been, you know, he's having a great time, and he's obviously become a monster.
Yeah, like I think both of us here are pretty, like, we didn't talk to a whole lot of people. We didn't have like a huge group of friends or anything like that. We were all pretty like socially awkward. He didn't have any friends that weren't like, minus like 2 or 3 people that weren't already my friends.
Right.
And so I was like, I think it's good. It was good for him to go somewhere where he doesn't know a single person. Like he doesn't know anyone. He doesn't know where he is. So he'll have to talk to people about where things are. He has roommates. Like he'll have to interact with other people and like actually like find other things that he's into outside of this. Not that he did really. That's still all he does when he's there. He plays the exact same video games and wrestles. But actually, like, I don't know.
You remember how competitive he is. Like if he lost something,
if he lost tic-tac-toe as a little kid, he cried.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But if he lost a match, he wouldn't talk all the way home, and then we wouldn't see him until the next day. He would go to his room.
I was the same. Like I didn't
just go to his room. We wouldn't see him again. And
I remember telling Andre that in college. Like I'd lost a match and I like dipped. And he was like, dude, I was trying to talk to you. I was like, dude, give me like 20 minutes. Like at least like maybe like 20, 30 minutes. Like let me sulk and be upset for a little, and then we can have a conversation about it. Coach Pope always knew.
Yeah.
Like it didn't happen very much at the end, but
I learned early on, and I was never like, I've had dads. It's amazing how many fathers I've had that have messaged me over how were you able to raise your kids doing this, you know, and not be overbearing? How are you able to? And I never chased you down after a match to yell at you. You know, I did for a while go to make sure you're all right. And then after, it took me a little while to realize that wasn't a good time. You know, and you're not all right, but you will be. And so then I started, you know, giving your space, and then I would go in. Fortunately, it didn't happen that often.
No,
you know, but I would, you know, I would go find you, or after a while I started waiting. You know, And I tried to tell people I never really pushed you guys hard, and I would have dads next to me at jiu-jitsu matches screaming at their kid, you know, that's losing. And I'll look over and their kid's 7, 8, and you guys
like those are kids that are really good, but they're not going to do it when they're older.
Yeah, and you guys are like 13, 14, and I'm talking to you like this while I'm coaching you. Or if I'm yelling, it's to be louder than the next person.
We're holding the kid down and like. What was that?
So I'd have dads message me after, embarrassed how they were, and here's my thing, and it's fortunate, I guess, that I competed also at a high level, but, and I've said this to you before, if you're competitive, you work your butt off every day. If you lose a match or you do something wrong, I don't have to be the one to yell at you about it.
We know.
You're yelling at yourself about it. Like you're going to beat yourself up over it, so there's no reason for me to. Mine is to go check on you, make sure you're good after that, you know, and later maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll, you know, we fix whatever happened and you know, move forward. But those are the guys that hate their parents later, you know. Baseball parents,
a lot of those kids.
Football, you know, the dads that do that, especially the ones that have never done it.
Yeah, a lot of them are people that haven't done it before.
Right.
Like they've never wrestled before.
Rob Padilla, for example. Rob Padilla started training because he used to get on his kids so much. He started training just so he could see what was up, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm a dick."
Yeah, he's like, "I won't yell at you again."
I won't yell at you again. And it's because, you know, no one's losing on purpose. You know, so
you're yelling at him, but he didn't lose just to lose. Like obviously he was trying, and the other kid beat him. Like, it happens. Like, it's.
And I think that's what always allowed us to stay close, is I'm just as concerned for you, and for if I'm bummed when you lose, but I'm not bummed when you lose because I care if you lose. I know that you care if you lose because you put in all the work. And it hurts more when you lose after doing that.
We were putting in hours.
Yeah, lots.
Hours and hours.
Lots. Typically, 4 to 6 hours a day, right?
Yeah. I mean, when we were wrestling in high school, period would start at like, I think the practice might start at like 2 something, and we were there until like 5:30-ish, 6 almost, because we were late for class for a long time.
Right.
And then we'd rush over here and do class, hour and a half, do wrestling for an hour and a half, which really ended up being a 2-hour practice because Rick didn't like how we were drilling or how hard we were going live, or like you were doing what ended up being like 6-7 hour days all the time, like consistently. Those practices got long. On schedule, it's an hour and a half, but like I remember we were here till 11 one night. Yeah. Like we were here all night, and parents would just come in every like 20 minutes. He's like, "They're not done yet," and you're like, "Oh, all right, cool." They'll just leave. Like they would just, and then he would like cuss us all out, and they just sat there like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." Yeah. It's like, yeah, he was interesting.
All right, so jumping back to MMA, this is something you don't like to talk about a lot or don't talk about a lot, but what are your goals? Do you have any goals? What are your goals in MMA? Fight-wise, career-wise, financially, like what is it that you're shooting for? Is it the same as everybody, or what are your plans?
I mean, I just want to continue to win fights. I always find the question weird because I don't see why anyone has different goals. Like if you're in it, you should ideally have everybody should have relatively the same goals to continue winning fights. And then eventually, when you're ready for that sort of thing, you can like start getting ranked and start working your way up that way. And like, but I don't have it goaled to like a time frame or anything like that, because I think that's ridiculous. Like we started that way with our contract. We're like, yeah, if we do 3 to 4 fights a year, we do this and that, we'll have this done by this time. And then you have one fight, and that fight that was supposed to be scheduled 4 months later is now 6 months later. And then there's COVID, and then you get COVID, and then guys say no, and they push the fight back a month or 2, and then they sign with Showtime, and they push the fight back 4 months, so you've now been in camp for 8 months. Like they, it's scheduling things to a time frame. Like if everything gets pushed back a month, things a year from now are now pushed back a year and a half from now. Like there's no point in scheduling it that way, because every other month you have to change your time frame. So like I think it's less stressful to just focus on what's the next date, who's the guy, let's do it, when's the next one, when that's done. Like it's better to look at it that way. I think when ranking starts to become more of a question, then I'll actually care about the rankings. But like I couldn't even tell you. I could ballpark a couple guys that are in the rankings at 45, but besides the top 2 plus 3 or 4, I couldn't even tell you who's in it, because by the time I want to be in it or get into it, half of them aren't going to be there. They're either going to be a little higher, or they're going to move weight classes, or they're going to have retired, and they're not going to be there. And so like there's guys that we wanted to fight early on that got cut, like they're not there anymore. And those were people who were like, yeah, we'll fight them a few fights from now, and then the next fight they were gone. So it's like it's not something that it doesn't need to take up space in my brain for right now, because it's not important for right now. Like if those are guys I want to worry about in a few years they may not be active fighters. So it's I just want to continue to win fights, and later, once I'm ready to fight ranked guys or break into rankings, then I'll start doing that, and then that's on to the next batch of things. But I'm not trying to call out everyone in the division and get PICO'd first round. Like I don't need to do that, and financially I don't need to do that either. So it's like I can do it at a healthy pace without like really like making like enemies. Like I don't need beef with anyone. I just like doing it. So
Right. Saying that everyone should have the same goal, or you don't see how they don't. A good example of that is Paul Felder. Paul Felder, when he retired, he had said, I suddenly realized that I was not good at, not going to make, I was not going to win the belt. I was not good enough to beat these couple guys at this point in time to get to the belt, or after a setback, having to win this many fights to get even back to that spot to get a chance for that. And he was like, the way he fights and the damage he puts out but also takes, is just not worth it to him. And now he's doing the commentating, which he's awesome at. But that's a good example of that. Like, his goal was obviously to get there, but he was real with himself when he realized, oh, that's not within my reach, And was,
like, nobody's goal is to lose, right? I mean, I would assume so. Like, ideally, or I would assume that the vast majority of everyone that's fighting, their goal is to win. And then if they win, they would probably, their next goal would be to continue winning. Like, everyone's goal should be about I would imagine it is some form of the same. Like, it
win fights, make money, make a living.
Yeah. Like, it should be that, and it doesn't need to be more than that. And it really can't be more than that. But that's what it should be. Yeah.
So, when you're not training, which is, not a whole lot of time, but when you're not training, what do you do? What are you into?
Usually if I'm not also like sleeping to recover from training.
I count that as training time. That has to do with training.
I have that actually on the whiteboard too. I have those hours like logged in for like the hours of like a day that I'm training, but then like assuming I get X amount of many hours based off like whatever the whoop keeps saying I'm getting, what hours are left to do anything else. Where you.
So what do you do when you're not?
I mean, if I spend most of the time, if I'm not here or if I'm not sleeping, I'm usually either making like some form of like art, like I'm glued to the computer, just designing, just to keep myself like busy with other things, or just finding like new music to listen to or something like that, like all day. Like I listened to like 4 or 5 different albums today while I was painting, and just like finding like outlets that aren't training related, so I don't get like burnout on it in any way. Like, I think that happens to a lot of people too.
Sure.
It's like if all you do is train, eventually they have like a mental breakdown. They're just like, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to do this. And so I think having some form of outlet for like a good time of the day, not like all day because you need to train and sleep and whatever, but like for like a good portion of the day, have other things to do so that you're not constantly thinking about that. Because even like it's not something that needs to occupy all the space in your mind, because you'll just burn yourself out on it. For the same like, it sounds off topic. For the same reason I don't watch the other guys' fights a whole lot and I leave it to you guys. It's not something that I need to think about a lot. Like, it doesn't deserve the time in my head. It's just something that's gonna worry me more if I continue to watch it. I'll just keep seeing him like land this particular thing, and I'll just keep like rewinding that.
Right.
And I don't need to. Like, I don't need to know that information. Like, it's not important to me, and so I can keep some like allotted time to like paint or draw or like design things and like sell. Like, I sell artwork every day, or just like continue to like collect music and build my little like mind palace on the other side of the house.
Your album collection is unreal.
I have somewhere in the 700s. I have an app that runs it. I couldn't tell you where, but like probably like mid to high-ish 700s.
So that's basically become your passion.
Yeah, that's my outside of this. Yeah. And they all get used. And then there's a whole like other sort of half, like quarter-ish of the room that's all like books and like artwork and things like that. And it's where I'll do like all my listening or all my painting and things like that. And I continue to make things in there all the time. Yeah. If I'm not training, I'm just laying on the floor in there, just like hanging out. I got a chair, but like I don't even use it. I just lay on the floor and like hang out, because I postered the ceiling too, so the ceiling looks dope. Right. It's like coming along. There's like a little like spot or two in there that needs done, and then it's like really like settled in and solid, which is making the other room look like my actual bedroom look less cool. because I think stuff's going into that room and making it super dope, and now I'm like, oh well, I should just sleep in there. Like, it's just.
I mean, there could be worse things that you spend your money and time on.
Yeah. Like I have a ton of albums and I have a ton of high tops. Like I could have worse things, you know.
Yeah, you definitely
and
have a shoe
and
collection as
things
well.
that and things that accumulate like a form of like worth.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like they're not perishables. Like they're things that are actually going to be worth more later. And some that I got for cheap that if I wanted I could sell for way more. Like I could make money on the room if for whatever reason I wanted to get rid of it, which I probably won't. But if for whatever reason I wanted to, I would make money on its
a good
existence
investment.
than not having it. Yeah. Because I haven't lost anything or broken anything, and like everything is in the same or better condition than it was.
Except
So
for anything that Sonny ate.
yeah. All my I had those like LED TikTok lights in my room for a long time, and he unplugged every single one of them.
He's got a cat that's a terror.
Yeah, he's a menace to society. Yeah, he pulled out all the plugs, chews all the laces, chews all my hoodie strings. Cuts me up a lot. I haven't bathed him in a while because the last time I did I was bleeding. So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that's the other workout that I have to do that day. You know, he goes in there and like chews on the actual record. I'm like, thanks, bro. Yeah, I bought that. That was $40. Thanks.
So what's next? Like for you, fight wise, what's next on your calendar? And you know,
I mean, we got a date coming up. June 24th. Coming up in Connecticut, which we don't have like an opponent for or anything like that, obviously. But I don't want to go back to Connecticut.
it's like our second home.
Yeah,
We've been there a lot in
I'm
the last
over
2
it.
years.
This will be
fourth one.
So yeah, screw that. Come back to WinStar.
We've got Connecticut. We've got Mohegan Sun down pat.
Yeah.
That was my last UFC fight, and it's been Lucas's not last, but his last 3 fights before the last one.
Yeah.
We're
Third, fourth, and
there.
fifth fight. We're there.
And
I'm over being there.
we've been in their bubble. So basically, we've been in the casino or hotel for a week straight 3 times.
Phoenix
and this'll be the fourth.
Phoenix made me appreciate having all the food in the casino though, instead
Yeah,
of having
yeah.
to go from the stadium, walk back to the hotel, get changed, walk out to find food in the cold
Right.
and whatever. So like the bubble was kind of nice because you just go back to your hotel room in the
Everything
same
was
building,
right there.
and all the food was right there.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's is right there. Please, Ben and Jerry's, Ben and Jerry's, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, the pizza place. I forget what it's called.
Oh yeah,
It's like
Pepe's.
yeah. All the stuff that's there.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A upstairs. That place is loaded with all the food places.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's wrap it up. Where can anyone find you on social media?
Facebook. I'm just under Lucas Brennan, and then Instagram is just Lucas Brennan MMA on there. That's the only form of social media that I actually have. So
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
probably pretty smart.
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
It is all over.